This is the San Diego Sports Junkies, a show for fans by the fans, with Josh Taylor, Justin Smead, and Jason Eidsmoe. We're talking Padres, Chargers, and Aztec sports.
Gotta hit it to the right place. And he hits it out to center. Right center. Blackman's got a long way to go. He's still going.
Off the wall.
And it is off the wall. It takes a funny hop. Kemp is rounding second. He's heading to third.
Gotta go.
And Matt Kemp into third base with a triple and the first cycle in the history of the San Diego Padres.
He will hand it off. Tomlinson plows his way towards the goal line. LaDainian Tomlinson, one step closer to football immortality. Tomlinson has tied the single-season record. And the handoff to Tomlinson. Left side, and he will gallop into the end zone. Charger fans are witnesses to history.
Pope thought about it. Now steps up. And the freshman hits the jumper at the buzzer.
Well, this kid is some prospect. Big-time length, big-time game.
Pope straightaway three. Count it. Malik Pope. Pope off glass and good. On the other end, Joel doesn't miss that one. Shepard alley-oop to Pope. He got up there. Oh, wow.
It's time to let your voice be heard.
Well, hello, everybody out there. It is Wednesday at 7 o'clock. That means it's time for the San Diego Sports Junkies, a show for the fans.
By the fans.
We have a special treat for everybody out there. Boss Josh Taylor is on with us. What's up there, Josh?
What's up, guys? I can't believe you're still lying to everybody and saying it's a treat to have me on the show.
It is, man. You're the CEO.
You know, when you call up on the phone, it's still the name that comes up still is Boss Josh.
Well, at least something's right in this world.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, first of all, we got to congratulate you. You are now a brand new homeowner. You purchased a home. That's why you've been busy the last couple weeks. You haven't been able to come on. How's that experience been for you so far?
It's been a roller coaster of emotions. I mean, obviously, you know, at first you're excited. You find the house, put the offer in it. And then you got to go through the whole friggin' process where you got to get approved on your loan. They're asking for your whole life. They want to know how many times you wipe your ass, you know, when you brush your teeth, and how you pay your bills. But once we got through all that and we got moved in, it's been good, man. I mean, this is something that I've wanted for a really, really long time. I probably should have done this, 15 years ago. But then again, you know, everything happens for a reason, and I probably wouldn't have met you guys or done the show. So I'm glad that, my life's journey has gone the way it's gone.
Those are big ambitions,
guys,
man. 15 years ago, you would have been about 6.
Yeah, right. 15 years ago, I'd still have been older than you.
So anyways, we're putting the chat room to sleep here. Moving on to actual sports talk here.
Dude, no. Tell him about your couch story.
We'll save that for another time.
Oh man, the couch got hit by a semi.
We'll save
His brand new couch got hit by a semi, and then it hit a parked car, and then
Darren wants to know how does Josh buying a house help the Chargers improve their defense? So first of all, we've had some big news here in San Diego. It looks like the Chargers are coming back for at least one more season. Did you hear? What did you think when you first heard that, Josh? And do you think that means that there's a real chance of them staying longer, or do you think it's just going to be one and done here?
My opinion of the situation, I feel like it's that girl that cheated on you and then realized that she didn't quite have the quality of life that she thought she was going to have, and now she's trying to crawl back into your life again.
Yeah.
It does feel like maybe she went out and tested the waters and realized that maybe the grass isn't as green as they thought.
Right.
It does have a little bit of a feeling like that.
Now you got to decide: do you want to let her back in your life, or should you tell her to kick rocks?
This week on Ricky Lake.
Yeah,
this is great.
The thing is, I you got to think that most Charger fans, they're willing to say, okay, now that you saw what it's like out there, we want you back. I think most, there are going to be those Charger fans out there that got pissed off and got upset. and maybe they won't get over that. But I think most Charger fans ultimately just want to see the Chargers stay here.
Yeah, I think now it's focused on getting the stadium. Put the feelings aside, and and for the good of the city, get the stadium done. I think you just put the BS feelings aside.
I'm just curious what's going to happen. I mean, we've been trying this whole stadium issue for 14 years, and the Chargers haven't appeared to budge. The city hasn't appeared to budge. Something's got to give, because the Chargers have set a deal with Kroenke at least,
right.
For the future, but they still want to try to work something here. Do they really try to make it work here? Do they give a little bit to try to get something done in San Diego, or are they still going to be stubborn?
Well, it's an interesting situation because, the Chargers do have a plan to go to L.A., but it's not really ideal. It's not really exactly what they want. And the city of San Diego sees that the Chargers, they actually do have another viable option. So we don't want to lose them either. So I think that, it's going to have to be one of those things that nobody in America is good at anymore, and that's compromise.
I think this is the perfect situation for the city to get it done now, because this is what you have. You have Dean that doesn't want to go to L.A. He didn't obviously like what was on the table from Kroenke. The deal isn't benefiting Dean in a way he approves or even feels like is a good deal for him. Like we always say, do you want to be a big fish or small fish in a big pond?
Right.
Or do you want to own your own market where you've been here for 55 years and established and get a somewhat of a world-class stadium built here in San Diego and really have the best chance you've ever had in 14 years with a mayor that's actually going to work with you. So I know it's stalled for how many so years, but there actually have been talks now, and it looks like it's on the right track to getting a vote in November and making sure that's on the ballot. So that's a good thing.
I sure hope you're right, Justin. A lot of what you're saying sounds good. You know what I mean? Obviously,
you calling me a bullshitter?
Realized that he realized that Kroenke was going to take it to him, and he was going to be the big breadwinner in this agreement. And I think Spanos wants a bigger piece of the pie than Kroenke's willing to give him. So it's going to be more feasible for him to get something done here in San Diego where he can, keep as much money in his pocket as possible.
Yeah, the chat room, Mikey Makchievsky, welcome to the show, Mike. He says the perfect storm situation. The perfect situation is if Dean had zero choices and he had to come back groveling, which is kind of true. He didn't want to go up there in the first place with Kroenke,
but he still has another choice.
Exactly, he has another choice. Brian says they're still here with more time. I say let's work together on keeping them here. That's what we wanted, right? And I agree with Brian.
Yeah.
Let's put the feelings aside. This isn't a feelings game. I don't care what Dean did to you. Dean didn't do nothing to you personally.
Yeah.
We are taxpayer. I heard a quote the other day. It was funny. People act like there's one person in San Diego that fits the whole bill of the taxpayer money. It's not one person. It's divided amongst everybody. And I know people aren't excited about tax hikes, but really, how much is it? And how much are you really going to be taking out of your taxes?
How much are you really going to
Exactly. It's not one person going, man, I got stuck with that whole bill. That's terrible. I'm going to have to save my checks. And this is bad.
Yeah, that's true.
So don't think of it that way. It's going to be minimal. $300 million sounds like a lot of money, but split up a bunch of ways, it's really not.
Right.
And they could do the tax and the hoteliers and do a hotelier tax and all that stuff. So all that said, yes, let's work together, find a solution, and stop the bickering. And who cares what Dean Spanos said or Mark Facciani or whatever his name is? Get it done. Just get the stadium here because you can have awesome events here besides the Chargers. It's not even all about the Chargers. It's about all the other stuff that can be in San Diego and they can host these events.
Now, we're going to be bringing Jake on. We're going to be talking lots of Charger stuff in about 5 or 10 minutes. But while we got Josh on here, we want to kind of run the gamut here. Padres, Justin Upton, that was the one person that everybody wanted the Padres to bring back. I know you were really, really high on bringing back Justin Upton. Upton ends up going to the Tigers, which means we get do we get 2 first-round choice? We just get 1 first-round choice.
We get 1, yeah.
We get a first-round choice for that, which is good. Are you okay with that, or do you think it was a big mistake the Padres not re-signing him?
Well, I think that's still yet to be seen, Jason. I mean, obviously, I was a big advocate of bringing him back. However, you know, the off season isn't done yet. There's still big fish out there that we can bring in. I still haven't quite put the, or at least I still can't figure out what the Padres are trying to do. I mean, they brought in a shortstop who's got about 2 years left in his career. Are they bridging a gap for the so-called shortstop stud that we got from the Red Sox to, you know, step into the void? You know, we still have outfield question marks. I mean, who's really going to play out there? Are they going to put Will Myers out in left? They're going to have Upton in center and Kemp in right. And
we got John Jay, remember? No, we got John Jay, remember? John Jay is going to be in center, I think, and Upton's going to be in left, Kemp in right, and Myers at first.
Yeah, I think they're going to ultimately ask Kemp to try left field this year. I really do.
You think so?
I think so, and I think that might be a move he might make. But, you know, as far as depth, I think the depth of the outfielders is not too bad. You know, I like Upton Jr. in center. He covers a lot of ground. Will Myers can play there sparingly. Kemp and John Jay. John Jay's an actually under-the-radar defensive player.
Yeah.
He can make some good plays, solid veteran. He's going to hit your 245, 250, 260 area. Good quality guys. As for free agents that are still out there, Josh, that you had mentioned, there's really not many left. The pool has dried up quite a bit. There are some guys, you know, as far as like pitching, you hear Tim Lincecum's name out there for starting pitching depth, which we would need. Ian Kennedy got like $700 billion for the Royals for some reason.
We got another first round
his contract was a little ridiculous, in my opinion. I don't think he's worth that much.
No, well, you would be spot on with your assessment.
There's no bigger fan of Ian Kennedy than me. I love the guy. You know, he was a little bit of a roller coaster last year, but I always loved the way he battled. And I said, "Holy shit, the Royals paid a lot of money for that guy."
Yeah.
I'm excited for baseball, though, guys. You know, I know it's a long season, and we know how Justin felt for like the last 2 months.
We know that
the season didn't exist, but I'm excited for baseball to come back. I'm excited for the All-Star game this year. I think that they got away from the power in the lineup a little bit and looked to shore up the defense. And
there you go.
I think those are some of the most successful teams that have been in Petco. Has been teams that have pitched well and played good defense.
Yeah, that's been the story, though. Bases. That's been the story of the Padres historically, defense and pitching.
Before we let you go, we'll flip over to Aztecs a little bit. Aztec basketball, 10 in a row conference, 10 wins in a row in conference. What a turnaround from the way the season started. What are your feelings on the Aztecs so far?
Yeah, here's a couple things. I mean, yes, they're 10-0. You know, obviously, you got to do a lot of things right to win 10 games in a row. There's a little luck involved. I think the Mountain West as a whole, and Justin would probably agree, Mikey would probably agree too, is kind of a little soft.
Yeah.
So even though we're 10-0, you know, you hear a lot of the critics talking, you know, yeah, we're 10-0, but we're going to have to like run the gauntlet here to have a surefire, you know, fit into the March Madness tournament. You know, if we end up losing to a San Jose State or something like that in our division or in our conference, that's going to hurt really bad because we had some bad losses in the non-conference schedule. Obviously, losing to West Virginia and Kansas isn't one of them, but, you know, when you lose to a Grand Canyon, you know, when you lose to a Little Rock, Arkansas, that hurts.
Right.
Especially at home.
The thing is, Josh, you got to realize, which makes the thing is that doesn't make SDSU's losses to those guys is that those teams are very good.
Yeah, they're actually playing pretty good.
Arkansas Little Rock is leading their conference. They're like 9-1 in conference. I think GSU or GCU is like 10-0 as well in their conference without a blip. In as bad as it sounds that we lost to them, I know we should have beat them. But in their own conference, they are kicking ass. So it does help the Aztecs a little bit. The worst loss was the USD loss at Petco Park. That's the one that's really going to bite us. But on this 10-game win streak, we're on the national radar now. You don't win. I think
right.
I wish Mikey was on right now. I think it's 6 games we've won on the road this year. The other 4 are at home. And to win 6 games in the Mountain West, as you know, Josh, you've watched this conference every year. I don't care if the Mountain West is down or up.
Right.
It is tough to go on the road in the Mountain West. It's altitude, tough environments to play. So those are important wins for us. And we are now you're seeing ESPN national writers come out and start writing about the Aztecs. They are now back on the national scene. Doesn't mean they're going to be ranked. Doesn't mean they're automatically in. They still got a lot of work to do. But they can really rack up these wins and really put their name on the map.
The Mountain West might not be the greatest conference out there, but they're not trash either, So it's not like they're
not the Missouri Valley State.
Right.
It would be nice to have another team or two in the conversation. Right now it seems like it's Aztecs or bust for the Mountain West.
Yeah.
You're not really hearing Boise's name talked about. UNLV and New Mexico have taken 2 big steps back.
Well,
they're not the powerhouse they've been.
The Lobos are the ones that are contending right now. That's the only team on the radar. So UNLV is, like you said, taking a step back. Boise is underperformed. They were the pick of the conference preseason to win the whole thing.
Right.
So that tells you where that goes. So it's pretty much down to New Mexico and San Diego State. But we'll see how it goes from here, man. 10-0, and they got to keep racking them up.
Now take your hometown heart away from it. Looking at the remaining schedule, you think they can run the gauntlet? You think they can finish the non-conference or the conference schedule undefeated?
Yeah.
They should be favored in every game.
Well, but there are a couple hard games remaining. You got the one at New Mexico. Is always tough. You still have UNLV at your house. That's always going to be tough. And then you have to, I think it's Boise again, at your house. So 3 games on the radar, got to win those. And hell, if you go 16-1, 17-1, you're still fine.
Yeah.
So.
Awesome, Josh. Well, it's good to hear from you. Congratulations on the house. I know you got to get away and get the push broom, and you got to clean up the couch that you left all over the freeway. That's a story that we'll be telling on a future show.
Oh, no, the semi took care of that. You don't have to worry about that. It's gone. It was annihilated.
All right. So we look forward to talking to you again next Wednesday, same time, same place, same channel, buddy.
Yes, sir.
All right.
You guys take care and tell Jake I say hello.
We'll do it, man. Talk to you later.
Later, buddy.
All right, buddy. Later, guys.
So that was Josh, Boss Josh, calling in from Arizona.
Good old Josh with the freeway story.
Yes. We were talking about
what's that? That was my furniture.
That's my brand new couch.
Oh, where's that going? Oh, shoot. A
going
semi.
Everywhere.
And then it hit a Kia. That's not good.
So,
that's hilarious.
Anyways, we're gonna take a quick break, and there it goes. There's that music. We're gonna take a quick break. We're gonna come back with Jake Hefner talking some Chargers. He has a new article out. We'll be talking about that. Probably talking about whether or not the Chargers are gonna stay, draft stuff, all that good stuff with Jake Hefner and, on the other side of the break.
Help with your business project that is due? Maybe you need business cards to help your business stand out. We at San Diego Sports Junkies
you got music
you covered. SK Digital Imaging can do it all. Give our buddy Sean K a call, 858-408-0732. SK Digital Imaging, from business cards to the bigger projects. SK Digital Imaging and our buddy Sean K will get your printing done right.
Cali Comfort Barbecue in Spring Valley was built for West Coast Sunday morning football and fight night. Cali Comfort Barbecue has quickly become San Diego's slow smoke barbecue sports entertainment destination. Full service catering available for all your tailgating needs. CaliComfortSD.com.
All right, we are back. This music means, of course, it is time for Jake Hefner. Makes us better than ever. Back in black. Jake, what's going on, man?
How you doing, buddy? Happy Wednesday to you.
Oh, we're doing great here. We got Justin in studio. We had Josh on the phone right before you came on, so Josh wanted us to say hi to you.
Good times, good memories.
Yes.
We really need you guys to get back in the same room so we can have a conversation together.
We need to get him. He's, we're going to all be together in the same room again. We'll definitely all come on. Lots of interesting news. You want to say hi?
Hi. Hey, Jake. How you been, brother? How's life in the OC up there?
It's good, man. It's good. It's not Czechoslovakia. Let me just tell you that much.
Did you survive the hurricane?
That far away.
Did you survive the hurricane?
That far away. Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you something. I know that a lot has actually transpired here since I was on last week, and I'm glad you brought this to fact that I live in Orange County. But can I just say that for a person living in the Orange County, not in the San Diego area, can I just say that Friday was a very happy moment for somebody who's not a San Diego resident, in the fact that the Chargers are playing in San Diego for at least this next year and hopefully many years after that.
And we were talking about this prior, and there's a couple of weeks where you hadn't been on or whatnot, and me and Jason were just talking before the show. What were we going to do if they did decide to leave? And the Chargers talk drives this show, and we're not by any means looking for any type of ratings. If somebody listens, we're very gracious, but we're not looking to grab ratings. But it's for us, it's fun to talk about the Chargers because that's 80% of what people want to talk about. San Diego Padres is fun, and we love to cover Aztecs hoops and football, and that's fun too. But our big passion and what drives San Diego fans is the Chargers. So talking about them not being here, and if we were going to have to do the show maybe just twice a month instead of 4 times a month, it was really kind of bummed, a depressing conversation we had because, your team pretty much you don't have any control what you can do, and
right.
Them saying they're off to LA would have been devastating for us, of course. But like you said, Friday, I let out a big shout, and I was very excited that we're going to have football in San Diego another year, and it'll give some time for the city and the ownership of the Chargers to maybe work something out here.
Yeah, absolutely. And, from the dialogue that you've heard since then, it's stuff that we never got a chance to hear from beforehand throughout that entire year. It just seems like dead silence, right. Nobody talking, especially coming from Dean Spanos' mouth, and we had to listen to the unbearable Mark Fabiani's comments. It felt as every single week, but now there might be some light at the end of the tunnel, and you got plenty of time to do it, and hopefully both sides can figure out a comparable plan as far as what is going to be best for the city, what's going to be best for the team on top of everything else. And like the whole adage is going around in your guys' city, let's get it done.
Yes,
right.
That is actually what is going on a lot is let's get it done is what a lot of people are saying. Now, interesting, John Spanos came out and he said if we wanted to leave, we'd be gone. And I heard that and I said, boy, isn't that true and isn't that not true? Because I think that had they gotten a different deal, they would have bolted. But at the same time, they've worked out a deal now with Kroenke in LA. So technically that is right. If they really wanted to do that, they would have done that already. The fact that they're coming back here for a year says they would much rather work out a deal in San Diego than actually have to go play with Kroenke. But do you agree with me? Do you think that if they had gotten that deal with the Raiders up in that dump that they were up in Carson or whatever, do you think that they would have been gone and they would have not come back?
Yeah, I honestly think it would have been a very different story if the Chargers ended up going to Carson. Because remember the comments that Dean Spanos was saying just days before the vote came down in Houston, saying, I hope we have the vote. I hope we have this. I hope we have this. The whole mindset was all about Carson. And, of course, it was a financial decision and it was a business decision. Dean was trying to do what he felt in his mind, not necessarily in everybody else's, what was best for his organization. Now, to say that if they would have won the Carson deal, would they have possibly ever, came back to the table? No, it probably wouldn't have happened that way. And the interesting thing about it is now that what you've seen transpire with the Raiders among everything else, now that they've kind of been left out in the wind and going now to find their possible new home in Vegas, it's completely changed the whole staple of how everything is being drawn about as far as stadium locations for teams now. But again, at the end of the day, you hear these comments, and for me, I am trying to forget and forgive everything that was prior the Houston vote. So everything that is being done now is what really people should be focusing on. And a lot of people can take it as a media ploy, and they're just trying to look like they're making an effort to stay for one more year, and eventually they'll move to LA in 2017. Honestly, I don't believe that. I truly don't. And when you hear the dialogue like this, and for the amount of time that they have to get something done, I actually have felt more confident about them staying in San Diego now than I have in the last year and a half.
If that was just a ploy, isn't it not to their benefit to wait another year? Because now they're a whole nother year behind the Rams. So
correct. That's exactly the point.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. For me, Jake, I wanted to get your opinion. I've been thinking about this a lot too. Obviously, Mark Fabiani was the bell cow for the Chargers front office. He's obviously disliked in this town. He's just doing his job, and Dean is sending messages to. For me, now that they're back negotiating with the city, hopefully, in faith, we should say. I believe we're going to see more of Dean Spanos. It started tonight. Before I got to Jason's house, I flipped on KUSI. Dean Spanos was doing an interview with the sportscaster there. It looked like in Dean's home. So, and then prior, I had heard the day of announcement that they were staying in San Diego. He had invited Ron Roberts and the mayor over to his house for a quote unquote cordial talk and a fair assessment of what he wants to do. In your opinion, I know it's a lot of people's opinion, Mark Fabiani should stay as far away as possible now for the good graces of the San Diego community. Your opinion, what needs to happen now? Dean needs to be more visible, wouldn't you say?
Oh, absolutely. Visible and vocal on top of everything else. And this, honestly, is what is going to get the naysayers to flip the switch. For all the people who say when the public vote comes down next November that they don't want to vote for a stadium, Dean's presence and his voice can possibly mean the difference between a stadium getting built and not. And it's crazy just to think that as far as that type of influence. But after going through all this controversy over the last year and a half, where we didn't hear a peep out of Dean Spanos, and everything that Mark Fabiani was saying, we assumed was being said on behalf of Dean Spanos in that factor. Now, if you take Mark Fabiani for what he is, for the position that he does, he's very, very good at what he does, for the responsibilities that he has to be upheld to as far as his role in getting a new stadium deal done or finding the proper situation. He's very good at that. And that's where his job should start and stop. He should not be the focal point of the vocalization and the media mogul for which this stadium issue is being covered. It needs to be Dean Spanos in the public eye. It needs to be Dean out there, because this is what is going to get San Diego natives to believe that they are legitimate in staying and getting a deal done with the city.
I agree. I think Dean coming back up to the forefront and actually being back in the spotlight can only help things and mend fences. We got Brian Bolton in the chat room, and that's basically what he's saying is how he was just so depressed and he was just, hanging from a string, and now he's willing to let bygones be bygones. And I think that there's more and more people that are starting to
share that sentiment.
And starting to come around. We all were hurt. We all were upset.
Yeah.
Guess what, though? Now we can see that there's a chance of this happening. So that can only be good. Let's talk about some actual players and stuff on the team. This is kind of relating to the Chargers making their announcement. Keenan Allen and Melvin Ingram in particular, they both tweeted out. I don't have the tweets right in front of me, but basically they said San Diego, you got what you wanted. Now fill the stadium. I think is a pretty good paraphrase of what they both said. And they were met with a lot of heat from people.
Reading the comments was hysterical.
And they backtracked a little bit, and it's funny because I love both of those guys, and I was angry at first. My first thought was, hey, Melvin Ingram, how about giving us 16 games? You know?
Yeah, it was almost like they were sitting next to each other. It was very much the same message they put out. So it's like they were right next to each other and said, like, hey, let's tweet this out.
Yeah.
And they, like, had it written down. It was really weird.
Almost like they were upset. What were your thoughts, Jake?
You know, this is where the perception of a fan and a player on how they perceive a situation like this is very, very different. Now, see, from a fan's perspective, from what the fan has had to do and deal with and endure all season long, of course, in reality, comes down to financials and comes down to loyalty, among other things. So when they hear for a year and a half that their organization is threatening to leave and there is literally no resolve in sight, and we talked about this like way before the season started last year. How were the fans going to react in the possibility of it being San Diego's last year? Were fans going to go out and say, hey, let's go see the one more game while they're here, just get that last chance to be there at Qualcomm while this team is still in the city? Or were they going to basically boycott the games and the team and the organization based on that they felt that the city was getting the short end of the stick and that they were basically being stabbed in the back by this man who says that he is so devoted to his city and the team that's been there for 50-plus years is now threatening to leave just from a financial standpoint. Now you flip it to the player's perspective. From the player's perspective, they see this in a totally different way. Now, not to say that the language that Keenan Allen and Melvin Ingram used is excusable, because I don't believe that it is. But you look at it from their standpoint, and they come out for the fans and obviously for the team and to try and win every Sunday. And how many times was the media covering it, saying that every single Chargers home game, maybe with the exception of Week 1 against Detroit and the final home game of the regular season last year against Miami, how many times have they come out and said, this does not feel like a Chargers home game. It feels like it's the visiting team has totally overrun the Charger fans here. Right. So they see it from that perspective. But in all fairness, when you have a 4-12 record, that's not going to bring the fans out either to support you.
Exactly.
And that's true for any team, not just the San Diego Chargers, but for any team that is going to be the case. So you really have to draw the line and just understand the perspective from the fan and the player and try to separate the two. But again, I don't particularly like the language that either one of them used as far as getting out their emotions. I think in reality, they were just as happy as anybody else was that they were still remaining in San Diego and not moving. Because remember, they're attached. They have to go for whoever is going to say that they're going to go. Right. They have no choice in the matter.
Right.
So you just have to separate the comments in that type of respect. But, I know a lot of people didn't like what they said. I particularly didn't like it, but you just have to understand the perspective of both sides.
Yeah, the social media thing, maybe they need a class on when to tweet and not to tweet. I mean,
just go to Herm Edwards 101.
Yes.
Don't press send.
Don't press send. You're so right. And that's it. That was the wrong time to tweet that kind of thing out. Yeah. When emotions are high in this city, people have a passion for their team like you hit on. You just don't make those remarks at a crucial time and almost telling the fans how to spend their money.
The Chargers, if they handled this right, they could really build some momentum to start like a whole movement to let's fill the stadium with Charger fans, and they can make that a real positive thing.
Right.
Instead of attacking the negative.
Right.
And Darren writes on there, Rivers gets it, and Rivers had a message, and Danny Woodhead both instantly were releasing messages about how excited they were to be staying in San Diego.
And Melvin Ingram, great, he had 10 sacks, but that was the quietest 10 sacks I've ever seen in my life. So the guy's not, he's not Justin Houston in Kansas City. The guy, he's not a superstar. So for him to come out, Keenan Allen's a bona fide superstar in my mind. He's getting there. But yeah, just a little awkward tweet there. I wanted to get to the new O-line coach and some of our new coordinators. Let's touch on the guy from the Patriots, Jake. Give us a little information on him. I know he got blown out after the championship game, I want to say, because of they were working with a worse offensive line than we were, and that's hard to even imagine.
I don't think it was worse.
Well, probably not worse, but you know what I'm getting at. It was pretty bad. So can you hit on him a little bit, give us a little information?
Yeah, I still have trouble pronouncing his last name.
That's why I wanted you to explain it.
Yeah,
I boogered it up real bad.
Or however, yeah. However it is that you actually pronounce it. But of course, his biggest claim to fame now is for the fact that he was in charge of an offensive line that surrendered plenty of sacks in the New England game. Obviously, a lot of people look at him as far as, well, someone had to take the fall for how the New England Patriots performed against the Denver Broncos in the AFC Championship game. And obviously, this was the axe that came down on it. But if you look at his resume, for as long as he has actually been coaching, and it has been a while since he has been in the coaching game, but the year beforehand, the New England Patriots were the fourth best team in the league in sacks allowed. So you say, okay, well, what happened in 1 year that transpired them to one of the best to one of the worst? Well, the truth is that obviously you have Nate Solder that goes down in the beginning of the year for the New England Patriots, probably their best offensive lineman, and the rest of their offensive line was shifted around rookies and rotations, and they had more offensive line rotations because of injuries and whatnot than the Chargers did. I believe it was 35, I think it came out to be.
It's crazy.
So, I mean, it was just trying to say, because we know something about bad O-line play in San Diego, unfortunately. We've seen it. We've seen enough of it personally. But to now bring this guy in as a assistant offensive line coach and put him right next to Jeff Davidson, who comes from Minnesota and has obviously done some pretty good job in the running game with having Adrian Peterson established over there. This would be an interesting combination to have both of these minds working together to try and revamp San Diego's rushing attack and ultimately, hopefully as well, keeping Phillip Rivers upright. So this would be an interesting thing to see, and I got to say, when I saw this hire, I actually really liked it, and I'm excited to see what these two are going to be able to do to hopefully solidify some stability and continuity on the offensive line.
Well, what a perfect transition into the running game, because friend of ours, Jake Hefner, wrote an article this week called "A Dying Breed." It's on Chargers, what the Chargers might be doing for their running game in the future to bring it back to the prominence that it was in the past. What were your some thoughts on that? And go ahead and give us a overall idea of what the article is about.
Well, basically, I mean, I think we've clamored for it for a long time, just in the running game, ever since the days of LaDainian Tomlinson and Lorenzo Neal were in the backfield. But you look at the Chargers' run game, and you bring this up just for the mere fact of the way that the offensive line has performed in the last couple of years. And you definitely need, it seems like, an extra blocker somewhere. Obviously, the tight ends that the Chargers have, they're not getting the job done when it comes to a blocking type of scenario. Antonio Gates, Ladarius Green, they're just not the right fit to block somebody and be that extra person on the line to open a hole. And then you've got David Johnson, who technically, on the Chargers, is their fullback the last 2 years. But he was drafted as a tight end. He's more of a hybrid type of player, and just is not the traditional type of fullback that you really need. And somebody like that is not always going to get the job done, especially when they don't utilize him even in the passing game that often. So nobody really has to be worried about him. So what I did was I took a look at a couple of interesting free agent names out there, because there's a lot of different ways that the Chargers could go in terms of bringing this position back to life and finding a viable spot for somebody as a fullback on the 53-man roster next year. So it could be free agency, or more likely, the way I look at it, is that it could be through the draft. and not investing a high pick on it. We're talking maybe the middle to the late rounds, possibly undrafted free agents. But there are a good crop of fullback names out there, and traditional type of fullbacks that could actually get the job done as far as being a lead blocker and being a good contributor for this offense. So,
what about the homegrown kid, Jake? I don't mean to interrupt you, but a homegrown kid in San Diego State, right. Chad Young.
Yes, Dakota Gordon. I did mention him in the article. I mean, how can not? I actually like him the best because I think his body is more prototypical to the old school type of running back because he's not the big guys that are the rest of them. He's not the Derek Watt. He's not the Glenn Gronkowski. He's not the Dan Vitale, even though I think Dan Vitale is probably the most pro-ready fullback out of this entire crop. But he's a smaller type of guy, similar to what Lorenzo Neal was. He's only 5'10". The rest of these guys are 6 foot and north of that. And when you look at the type of performance that he did for San Diego State's running game, winning the MVP in the Hawaii Bowl, scoring 2 touchdowns in that game. I mean, how often do you see a fullback winning an MVP in a bowl game?
Right.
Crying out loud.
Well, especially,
I would love to see some research on that.
Yeah, especially with whoever the running back. God, think of it as Pumphrey's back there, and the fullback's winning the MVP. That's just mind blowing. Doesn't make any sense.
Yes. So there are really a lot of options that the Chargers have, and it's not often that a crop comes around like this, especially in the draft class, that you have some really standout fullbacks that when you look at what they could possibly do at the next level, could really be contributing and possibly revitalize a so-called dying breed of a position that is not really utilized in the NFL anymore.
Now, a dying breed as describing the position, which I think is a fantastic name for it because it's what it is. Now, my theory, I've said it on a few different shows before, my theory is with as complicated as offenses are getting, you used to just be able to put some big dumb guy back there to be fullback, and he just ran and ran into something, and that was it. In order to be a fullback in the NFL now, you have to be good and smart, like all the other positions.
Right.
And Lorenzo Neal was one of the last that I saw that I've seen. Now there's plenty that Kuhn and there's plenty you can name on other teams, but it's just not something that a whole lot of effort and thought is put into anymore is my thinking on that. And that's why teams don't have, we took David Johnson's a perfect example. He's a big guy. He's a good blocker. He's not a fullback, though. He just is not a fullback. Now, is the lack of fullbacks because that there just isn't any of them out there, or is it because offenses are switching to so much passing, everybody would rather have that extra wide receiver than the fullback in there?
I think it's a combination of the two. And, again, you look at this and you really have to center around the fact of the running back that you have right now in your backfield and who you plan to build around for the future. You have invested so much in Melvin Gordon now that you really have to hit a home run with him this season to live up to some of the expectations that he obviously established coming out of Wisconsin. Now, there's been a long-standing reputation for running backs that have come out of Wisconsin that they do not translate well to the pro level. Another example would be Monty Ball, came out of Wisconsin.
Didn't Ron Dane come out of there too?
Who was it?
Didn't Ron Dane come out of Wisconsin as well? I could be wrong on that.
Yeah, he did. Ron Dane, yeah.
And that's just another type of example for you. But these are guys that it's almost like the USC quarterback translation to the NFL. Carson Palmer is the exception to the rule in that conversation. But when you take a look at Melvin Gordon now, and you bring in Ken Wisenhunt as your offensive coordinator, are you going to be able to build this offense around Melvin Gordon? And if you're going to do that, why not put him in a situation that he may be familiar with a decent fullback ahead of him to create that type of offensive scheme that he can be more flexible in, that he could be more productive in. So build your offense around the players that you have on the field and go to their strengths. That's really what they have to do in this type of situation because of the fact that Melvin Gordon has been brought up in the Wisconsin system, and ultimately you can adapt that around the passing game of Phillip Rivers. He can adapt to that. and make something out of it. But as long as you get the running game up and going again, which, again, was ranked 31st in the league last year for the Chargers, then you can really get something going once you get the running game established again.
Does Ken Wisenhunt, Jake, does he – I know Phillip doesn't like going under center a lot, and this is part of the problem with a fullback. Are we going to see more under the center from Phillip this year? Maybe we go out and get an established center in free agency, which I'd love to see work with him, be more comfortable under center. I know he's not particularly in love with it. Now, is that a systematical thing where he's just so used to the shotgun now that he doesn't even want to embrace under the center, or can he adapt back to under the center? I know it's not ideal for him to take a 5 to a 7-step drop, especially with that O-line. But can we see, a transition for Phillip this year?
I think that any and all opportunities are on the table for this offense to get better, and that includes your utilization of Phillip Rivers.
Right.
When you talk about protection-wise, this is where Jeff Davidson is really going to come into play because he has so much experience with different type of blocking schemes, with pass blocking, zone blocking, trap blocking. There's all different types of variations, and he's very astute in every one of them. So this is really going to be an opportunity for the offensive linemen of this team to really get a chance to learn a lot and hopefully get a lot better at what they were doing. Because the only blocking that we saw from them last year was little to none. It just seemed like they were on. They were just on roller skates. It seemed like every play, and there was no protection. And it almost forced Phillip Rivers to take those 7-step drops every time because he had to get away from the pass rush or he'd try and step up in the pocket. Now maybe you can actually get to an opportunity where it could be that quick snap like Tom Brady does. Just get the ball out in 1.5 seconds. Or 3-step drops and not have to worry about it. Or maybe you make the offense or the defense think about something else and you can actually run block and get a running game going and have a different facet to this offense and not be so predictable. So, Ken Wisenhunt mixed with these new offensive coaches and with new players that he was not familiar with before when he was the OC here a couple of years ago is going to be a very interesting story going into this offseason.
Well, I'll tell you one thing I noticed from the beginning of the season to the end of the season is Trevor Robinson got really, really good at helping Phillip Rivers back up off the ground. He was getting real good at that. Moving on.
Here, can I give you a helping hand,
He
sir?
was the closest one to him because he was always right back in his face, so he just turned around and helped him back up.
Oh, man.
Antonio Gates and the Chargers have both said mutually that they're interested in Gates returning. Have you heard of any contracts? I know that they're usually pretty quiet about this, unless you're Eric Weddle and you like to cry a lot about it and make a big deal about it. But Chargers like to be quiet about stuff like this. Have you heard? Have they started talking at all? And do you think that there's a pretty good chance of Gates coming back this year?
If anything has begun, obviously it's been behind closed doors, and it seems like the feeling is mutual that Gates doesn't want to be done in San Diego, and San Diego doesn't want to be done with Antonio Gates. You're in an interesting situation now, especially from the tight end position, because every single one of your tight ends is a free agent.
Yes.
So obviously, if you can bring back your most established veteran in Antonio Gates, that obviously is a good start for the next year. What is ultimately going to follow with the other three, I would assume that at least 2 of them are going to not be on the roster come 2016. But
does he take
getting Gates back?
Does he take a home? Does he take a hometown discount for us, Jake? What's the market look like for an Antonio Gates?
It'd be interesting. I wouldn't put a hometown discount out of the realm of possibility whatsoever. I think just for the fact that you can definitely see that he's enthusiastic and passionate about finishing his career with one team. So, we all know the type of person that Antonio Gates is, and especially after, having the 4-game suspension that he had this past year, maybe it's something, that he's totally willing to do if it means the opportunity of getting his team some better positional players, levy some contract issues in certain places, and putting this team possibly in a position to get better. That totally seems like something Antonio Gates would do, and I would not put that out of the realm of possibility whatsoever.
Another note, I saw a rumor on Twitter. It was from, I think, NFL Football Rumors or something. And as a matter of fact, you might have tweeted this out, Jake. Justin hasn't seen this yet, so I'm going to ask you both. I'll let Justin answer first, give you a chance to think about it. There's a rumor that the Chargers are thinking about making some sort of a trade that involves DJ Fluker for Cam Chancellor. I don't know what moving parts would have to be to make that happen, if they would throw in draft choices or what. But me personally, I think that's a terrible idea. I think Cam Chancellor is he's good, but I don't think he's as great as everybody thinks. I think he's good because of the team that he's on. He's a good fit there. I think DJ Fluker, his best games are ahead of him, and with the premium that the NFL puts on offensive linemen right now, the way you need offensive line, I would hate to give up a guy just with the attitude of DJ Fluker, for Cam Chancellor. What's your thoughts, Justin, before we go to Jake?
I would definitely embrace a Cam Chancellor in San Diego. I like his aggressiveness. I like
for DJ Fluker.
I would,
okay.
Because DJ's a solid player. I just Cam Chancellor to me is a game changer on your defense. To me, that's just my opinion. I would gladly swap players for Cam Chancellor. That's just my opinion. I love DJ Fluker's attitude and tenacity out there, but Cam Chancellor, to have a ball hawk out there like that, and especially if you're losing a guy like Eric Weddle, you're going to need a guy like that out there.
Well, Jake, you got two parts to this, because you get to tell us whether or not this is even, if this is even a
plausible
real thing or not, and then you get to tell us what you think about it. So go ahead.
No. This was one of those posts that someone had put up about, trades that should be made, hypothetically should be made, but probably were not likely to be made. Now, if we're talking strictly hypothetically, I don't know how much more I can say other than what you just said. I mean, I'm right on the boat with him. I would welcome Cam Chancellor with open arms, 100%, for the physicality that individual brings to a secondary. I mean, look at what he did for Seattle when he ended up coming back after his holdout. That secondary became instantly better. I think it's the other way around. I don't think it's the product that's around Cam Chancellor that makes him better. I believe he himself as a player makes the people around him better. And like you said, when you're talking about filling the void of an Eric Weddle, who has been an established leader on this team for so long, and now you're leaving a gaping hole there in center field, who better to fill it with the type of physical intangibles,
right,
the attitude intangibles, as a Cam Chancellor brings to the game. So I'd have to say, I would definitely welcome that trade if that was on the table.
So this one goes like everything else, 2 against 1.
Well, I mean,
I'm always on the.
I mean, he comes from a winning pedigree. I mean, they've won championship,
I think DJ Fluker actually is.
I like DJ.
I think his best games are ahead of him still, and I just worry about.
I think you can get good at. I think you can go get a DJ Fluker type in the draft. I really could to replace a DJ Fluker. You can't. There's not many Cam Chancellors sitting around. Yeah. That's all I'm saying.
Speaking of safety, filling that void with that Eric Weddle is going to most likely be leaving. I'm going to make you put a little bit of a percentage thing on there. Give us the percentage chance of Eric Weddle coming back, of the Chargers filling his spot with a free agent, or filling his spot through the draft. What do you think, Jake?
So the first question, is there negative percentages that we can put in this?
We're going to bottom out at 0.
I'll just go ahead and I'll make one up. It's negative 50 for Eric Weddle returning to San Diego next year.
He'll be in New England.
I see it more viable that, it's always interesting when free agency can just change the whole dynamic of, what your needs truly are and where the money is going to be ultimately invested. And the Chargers have a lot of cap coming up to free agency in March. Personally, if it were me, from some of the research that I've been doing, you look at some of the draft picks, you look at a Jalen Ramsey out of Florida State, you look at a Darren Thompson out of Boise State, who had a very good Senior Bowl game this last week. There's a couple of pretty good defensive backs that can definitely add some attitude to a very young secondary the way it is right now. So I got to say, I mean, you would like to bring in an established veteran, but ultimately, free agency, sometimes you end up overpaying for people. And, the way that the Chargers free agents have been working out lately as far as, return investment, it has not been that good.
Right.
So maybe you put that money somewhere else. So if it were me, from the prospects that I've been looking at, weighing it between free agency and the draft, unless we're talking about the possibility of a Cam Chancellor being on the table here, I would probably have to say that it would probably fill that need in the draft.
Well, here's the great thing about the NFL. One of the great things about it, the players probably don't think it's that great, but us as fans think it's great versus baseball. It's the fact that we don't know who available free agents will be, because any day somebody that's under contract can be cut and become a free agent. Baseball, you know exactly who the free agents are going to be. Football, it changes week to week, and that's why we have so much to talk about on the offseason. Oh, hello?
Oh, sorry.
Okay,
I thought you were just making a statement.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry.
That's all right. I thought you fell asleep because Jason's a pretty boring guy.
That was perfectly said.
No, Jason.
I'm dead silent because I have nothing to say to follow that up.
I'm all Jake fell asleep, dude. You've done it. Out of all the shows, you've put him to sleep finally.
Finally.
Unbelievable.
Finally.
I'm all good job, Jason.
My
You have bored your guest to sleep.
My unpopular opinions have finally done it.
That is great. Here's a quick question. I want a quick answer. Is Joey Bosa the next J.J. Watt?
Now you've put him to sleep.
You don't know. See,
I don't know, and the only reason I will say that, and I'll keep the answer short, is because of the defense that the Chargers run.
Right.
How will you utilize him if he ultimately gets drafted? And is he going to be able to have the same type of production that he had if you keep running a 3-4 defense?
Right. Okay. Perfect. That's because that's all you hear about is this kid, and is he worth the third-round pick? And that's for another show. But
I think it's tough to call anybody the next J.J. Watt. J.J. Watt's one of those once-in-a-blue moon players that's just so dominating. He's just so dominating. You don't see that very often. The article, for those of you who have not read it, it's called A Dying Breed. It's on ProFootballSpot.com. It's Jake Hefner's most recent article. You got anything else you're working on for people should be looking for in the next couple weeks?
It's draft season for me, baby. That's what my focus is on for the next 2.5 months, and I love this time of year. So, of course, that's what most of this is going to be concentrated on over these next several weeks, because we're going to be talking about, especially even leading up to free agency, what is going to happen, what new player is going to come in, who's the Chargers going to draft. And we talk about this every year.
Yep.
The rumors start flying in between March and April, and it's a bunch of just talk.
Rumors.
And about 98% of it is not even true.
Yes.
So it's going to be a great 2.5 months to try and figure this all out and weed through it. But
what month will Phillip get traded? What month will Phillip get traded? I think around April.
The rumors already started on that at WalterFootball.com, and I'm pretty sure that this sounds more like a Chargers organization rumor that was put out there, but they actually reported that the Chargers were emphatically happy with what they saw from Carson Wentz, and that they really, really liked this kid.
What?
And that can mean something totally a ploy for trade bait. So who knows what that's all about?
What's a WalterFootball.com?
WalterFootball.com, it's actually, I'm not sure if you've ever seen it before, but it's actually a great site full of different mock drafts, different people's opinions.
Oh, okay.
They've actually given out great notes as far as who the Chargers actually got a chance to meet with during the East-West Shrine games during senior week.
Oh,
so
very
you get
cool.
a little bit of inside information. Yeah, it's very nice.
Oh, awesome. Now I'm educated.
Yeah. Now, are you a mock draft guy, Jake? Do you really read and go through the mock drafts? And the second part of that is, are you going to be putting one out? I
will not be putting out one personally. No, I I study all the individuals. I don't try to predict where they're going to go because at the end of the day, I know that, my picking that is like winning the lotto. It's just not very accurate. So, I mean, I will be putting out my drafts, but I love reading them.
Yeah.
Because you always kind of, once in a while, you'll find somebody that comes up with a different player that a team will be taking, and that's not the consensus, and that's not the majority of what the other analysts are saying. And it's fun to get a chance to read about some of these guys that you may not normally hear about or may not even possibly know. And, of course, a majority of the analysts out there have the Chargers taking an offensive lineman between Laramie Tunstall and Ronnie Stanley. But then you come up with some of these other guys that make a case in point for the Chargers to take a wide receiver at number 3, which is not the popular consensus pick whatsoever, and none of us would probably be happy with that at number 3 overall. But they actually try to justify the best that they can for why the Chargers should be drafting Laquan Treadwell with number 3 overall pick. So it's interesting to see people's opinion, especially when it comes to mock drafts.
Maybe we can get Megatron out of retirement. That'd be great.
Right. Hey, that's a great. I got 2 non-Charger questions for you. Is this a ploy by Megatron, or do you think that he's really retired? And is Johnny Manziel on a team next year? And if so, which one?
Who cares?
I don't think it's a ploy by Calvin Johnson. I think he's legitimately retiring.
Yeah.
You look at his body of work. It's hard to argue a more physical wide receiver than how Calvin Johnson was as far as how he played the game. And it's funny, a coworker of mine who actually is from the Detroit area, diehard Detroit Lions fan, posted this question. Said, how many players would you rank ahead of Calvin Johnson right now? A couple of years ago, maybe you wouldn't have been able to put more than 3 or 4. Now, how many players would you actually rank ahead of Calvin Johnson right now? And the list would be exceptionally bigger than what it was 2 or 3 years ago. So it was an interesting thing that he said to me, and to be honest, I think he's legitimately retiring. Why not? He's had a great career, and this is no ploy to try and get him out of Detroit.
Well, okay, go ahead. Keep going.
Oh, I was going to answer your second question.
I forgot.
But go ahead. It's all right.
Yeah. My thoughts on Calvin Johnson are, I hope it's a ploy. I hope somehow he gets released by them, and I think he would be a fantastic fit here in San Diego.
Of course he would, at the right price.
I would love to see
sure.
him, move into the number 2 receiver, and then we can have Stevie Johnson right where he belongs at number 3.
Right. I'm still holding out hope Vincent Jackson will come back someday. I love that guy.
Jason, this is what I love about you, buddy. Your optimism from the regular season transfers over to the off season.
No.
Just without a falter, without any break in the waves. It's always positive you. And the one week that I was not here, I heard that you actually had a negative day, and I wish I could have been here to listen to it.
Yeah,
it doesn't happen very often.
I'm negative Nancy.
They don't call me Positive Patty for nothing.
Yeah, I got to keep this guy in check once in a while. He's over here with roses and sunshine at 4-12, and I'm over here.
Yeah, but it was a strong 4-12.
Oh, unbelievable!
There it is.
Come on. So, all right, man. Jake.
Yeah, Jake, we look forward to talking to you each and every week. Of course, like I said, with all the movement in the NFL, there's always really, really cool stuff to talk about. Hopefully we're talking about Dean Spanos and the mayor, moving forward and coming up with an idea. One more thing about that before we let you go. Mission Valley or downtown, which way do you think that it's going to start heading towards?
It should be heading toward. This is just me thinking as far as the outlook, as far as what both parties should be concentrating on. It should be headed towards downtown.
Yeah.
Don't even falter with anything else. You already have a plan in place that you have put together for this last year in Mission Valley. If there's any talk about that whatsoever, that can be tweaked very, very easily. So you've got that on the table. You know what that's about.
Right.
Control your focus in downtown and get it done.
I agree. Thanks for leaving us with that, Jake. We look forward to hearing from you next week. We'll have lots of fun stuff to talk about. Until then, we'll talk to you later, man.
Sounds good. Looking forward to talking to you guys again. Thanks for having me on.
Later, buddy.
All right, that was Jake Hefner from ProFootballSpot.com, giving us all the Charger insight that he gives us each and every week. You need to check out his article. It's on the fullback position, a dying breed. Instead of going into break, we're going right into our Aztec specialist.
Right to the phone calls.
That is Mike Maciejewski on the phone. What's going on there, Mikey?
Morning, guys. How are you guys doing today?
Good, man. We didn't even get a chance to do your Welcome to the Jungle Aztec Sports Report from Mikey Maciejewski. I didn't get to do all that cool stuff.
No worries.
Before we start talking,
we
start talking 10-0 in conference, before we start talking about all of the Aztecs people that committed, one thing that Darren mentioned in the chat room that I want to bring up about the Chargers is with the number 3 pick in the draft, one thing it can't be is a miss.
Yeah.
We got to get somebody who.
That's all we've been doing the last few years.
We can't swing and miss.
No, you have to hit a home run with a guy. Now it doesn't have to be a Pro Bowler every year. It just has to be a guy contributing.
Really strong contributor.
We would like a Pro Bowl every year, but you have to have a guy contributing in a major way.
Absolutely. So, Mikey, pretty big day for the Aztecs today, huh?
Yeah, today was the first day of football National Letter of Intent Day, so that was good for the Aztecs.
Give us some of the big
names
names
coming in today.
Give us some of the bigger names that we got. I know we had some surprise guys, some surprise players that had chose us later in the day. Can you elaborate on them, and who do we steal them from?
Well, I mean, you got, first of all, and you mentioned it, Justin, on Twitter, the offensive line is huge, huge. I mean, it started with Yasir Durant. First guy put us in at 5:28 Pacific time, 6'7", 345 offensive lineman. Then you got Douglas Tucker, the second offensive lineman, 6'5", 300 pounds. Tyler Romer, 6'7", 305. So I don't know if you see
are they available to play for the Chargers?
Yeah.
We need linemen. They sound like they're ready.
Yeah, no. But some of the big names, Troy Cassidy early on, Carlsbad High School, was considering Pac-12 schools. Great pickup, 3-star recruit. Then you had, a guy that committed today but wasn't that well thought of was, not well thought of, but he committed from San Jose State, Keanu Stallworth.
Right.
Defensive back, I like him a lot.
Is he the 6'1" kid?
I'm sorry?
He's 6'1", isn't he, for a DB?
Yeah, 6'1", 190.
That's a crazy big DB, man. That's awesome.
Yeah, that's great. Chase Jasmine, running back, he's 5'11". From what I'm hearing, this kid can do it all. I mean, he's like a mixture of every single running back we have on the roster. That's crazy. That's exciting.
Yes.
A lot of people are very, very, very happy that we got him. Some of the bigger names that just came out recently, Keith Ismail, offensive lineman. He also had some offers from, I believe, Pac-12 schools. And the one you and I were talking about earlier, Justin, his first name, Hemphill.
Kalen Hemphill.
Yeah, Kalen Hemphill, linebacker.
Between those,
that kid, I mean, he was literally considering Arizona, UCLA. He had visited Boise State, all these other schools that are quote unquote bigger schools in San Diego State, and he decided to sign with the Aztecs. So that was huge.
Yeah, I saw a tweet from a Arizona writer, and he said San Diego State just pulled in a haul with these two linebackers duos coming in.
Yeah.
So
Darren, I'm going to put you on the
stuff.
spot here a little bit because I don't have any papers in front of me, but Darren says they got a defensive lineman from Helix who's pretty good. Do you know who he's referring to?
Yeah, Forrest Hanlon.
Yep.
Forrest Hanlon, 6'2", 240, and I'm glad Darren brought him up. Yeah, I haven't seen his film yet. It's been such a flurry today, but I saw him, and he looks well built.
Yeah.
I remember seeing the Aztecs have been putting pictures of these guys in front of the Aztec calendar, welcoming them to the program, and I saw him, and I was like, whoa, this kid looks built like he's ready to play next year.
Yeah.
So
That's
that
great.
was kind of impressive. So I'm glad you brought that up. Yeah, I remember that picture sticking out of my mind. So,
well, that's
good call there by Darren.
Well, that's good that the football team, when you go undefeated and you go up to your bowl game and you shellac your Cincinnati, they should have been in a better bowl game first of all, but to have a season like they didn't start out great and just ran the table. Good for them. Kudos to the scouting staff. Now we're going to hear more fans, get more excited about football in the next coming years. I know it's just been kind of even keel. We've been going to bowl games, not big bowl games. They really need to step it up in the next few years, in my opinion, to get more fandom. You need people at the stadium. Those are exciting football games. I like going to Aztec football games. This is a good sign for the program, and this is probably one of their better recruiting classes they've had in years. I don't know what they used to do in the heyday when Marshall Faulk was around, but I know they used to pull pretty good kids out of the state. So good for the Aztecs. Let's swing it over to basketball, man. 10-0 in conference.
Let's swing it over.
10. Yeah. You know how it goes. 10-0 in conference. Huge win on Tuesday night, last night. Had my heart pounding. The streak was on the line of 159 consecutive games under 5 minutes with the lead. Down at the 1 minute mark. Hemsley comes in, gets a nice banker off the glass, puts us ahead. What is your opinion on this team, man? I can't say enough. We have conversations quite a bit. Your opinion overall, what do they need to keep doing? What's it look like, forecast for the tournament? Just your overall opinion.
Yeah, no, I mean, overall, well, obviously in that game, I mean, you saw it, Colorado State couldn't miss on three. I mean, these were like shots with guys. I mean, two of them were like from 40 feet out. I mean,
Steph Curry.
Like way behind. Yeah, Steph Curry status. Yeah, it was crazy. So, I mean, the Aztecs did well. I mean, we held them, I think we scored 69 points both times, and we held them in 62 the first time.
Right.
Over at Colorado State, scored 67. So, I mean, 5 more points, which isn't much. But, I mean, defensively, obviously, we're there. Seeing Malik Pope play well, very pleased. He got a lot of that crunch time playing time over Xylem. Xylem has a foul trouble, kind of a quiet game. But they got the W. Winston Shepard. I mean, same guys we're talking about here all the time.
For Malik, not just playing minutes in crucial time, playing a big role in crucial time. Big block down the stretch on a smaller guard he's facing. They went with a bigger lineup. Malik Pope with a huge block, other end of the court. Malik Pope gets a pass into the paint. He blows by his defender, gets an easy layup, put us back ahead. He's really starting to feel a little more comfortable out there. His shot looks a little smoother. It's going to come around. He's starting to get his confidence back, it seems like. Wouldn't you say?
Yeah, no, and one thing I did notice is him. Oh, I'm sorry. Is him if he was playing a little bit more down low. He seemed a little bit more comfortable playing down there. He got the ball down low a couple times. He was moving it around, trying to post up guys a couple of times where they missed him, especially when he had a mismatch. So, that's good to see him, possibly want to, want to be open to going down low.
Change.
Right? And being that guy, taking advantage of that. Kind of like Winston Shepard we talked about, where Winston never did that when he started off. Now he's taking guys off the block and scoring baskets over them.
Exactly.
It seems that maybe Malik Pope has finally stopped trying to maybe live up to all of that, one and done hype, and he's a lottery draft pick and stuff.
Right.
And now he's just going to go out there and just play. And he's just going to play, and he's going to
take a deep breath and go out there and play.
And maybe that's what we need from him down the stretch, and maybe into tournament time.
Yeah, I think for me,
I was
going to add to that. It's for me, what a great time to be coming alive a little bit, because if you're making this stretch run, hopefully do we make that tournament, knock on wood. Wouldn't it be nice to have some more production out of Malik Pope, another option for the Aztecs to go to? That'd be great. I mean, he's starting to come into his own, and God, what a help that would be. Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, no, and like you heard on Doug Gottlieb today, this is a team that could be dangerous because they play such good defense. And
Right.
he talked about how it could be anybody, any week. It could be any player. So, this week, obviously, Trey Kell and Jeremy Henry's going to be doing their thing. And Winston Shepard stepped up, almost a double-double, excuse me.
Right.
And Malik Pope stepped up. So, everybody's getting the roles assigned to them, and you're starting to notice that, like, what the roles are. I mean, you see it. You see that Spencer's going to be rebounding for you. You see Winston's a facilitator down low. And yeah, I mean, I think it's no big surprise now, and it seems to be playing better because of it.
Now I know that it's real tough for you to take those glasses off. I know about it because I have a hard time with the Chargers.
You do. Positive.
Right. So but what I am going to ask you is, I'm sure that there are plenty of guys on this team that you look at and you say this guy could play in the NBA. But what my question is, and it's Darren's actually question from the chat room, is there any NBA stars on this team? Is there anybody on this team that could actually be an NBA star? Now,
yeah, I think there's a couple. I still believe Malik Pope can be that. So, I mean, the talent's just there. I don't think, and just watching him, and Justin, I'm sure you'll agree, with him it was really just effort.
Right.
Early on, it was just effort, and I think he can be. I also think that Jeremy Hamley could possibly be a star in the NBA because he's so young. You're talking a freshman here who's commanding a team, and he has these other intangibles that you can't coach. Outside of that, I mean, I could see possibly Trey Kell, getting a shot in the NBA. I could see a couple other guys because we're so athletic. I mean, the NBA is full of athletic guys, and if you've seen J.J. O'Brien play, I mean, he's shooting really great in the NBDL, and that was not him here. I mean, he was not a shooter. So you can learn how to shoot. You can't learn to be more athletic.
Yeah, a la Kawhi. Kawhi had to learn how to hit his shots better and take him in. We all know he could play defense and rebound, but he had to work on that jump shot, and he did. And he look at what he's doing. I agree with you, Mikey. I still think Winston Shepard can go pro at some point. I don't think he's NBA material, but that's not for me to decide. I think he's got the talent and the intangibles, but I don't know if he's put it all together for NBA scouts to say, hey, he's a second-round pick. I think he's an overseas type of player like Billy and Malcolm Thomas, those types of players. I could see him making money over there. But, yeah, they're loaded with athletic guys.
Darren brings up another question in the chat room, and he says the fact that Malik Pope's efforts being questioned already kind of scares him a little bit.
Yeah, and that's I know, Mikey, we had touched on this at the beginning of the year. Just my 2 cents. I don't know why. Maybe there's something ailing him. He didn't seem right. He just didn't seem right.
I think he read too much of his own.
Maybe, but
I think that's
but
what
he
happened.
just didn't look like anything like he did. Like maybe it's the sophomore slump. Maybe it's the freshman 15 catching up with it. I don't know what's going on. Why? Maybe he's running late with the classes. I don't know. He just looked tired, lackadaisical, and like Mikey said, there was no energy there. There's no energy. You see a Zylan Cheatham. He's full of energy. You just don't see that out of other players. Yeah. That's just my opinion. I don't know, man. That's a mystery in itself.
Yeah, I mean, I could see how it's a little concerning, and I was reading and I forgot about this, how Malik Pope had been at the U.S. under 19 tryouts and stuff,
right.
And he had a great first session, and he kind of just fell off, and that was the first kind of talk about him possibly not giving it his all. So yeah, it is concerning, and the one good thing about that is that he can still turn it around. I mean,
oh yeah,
he still has time to win, because coaches are going to ask Coach Fisher, and Coach Fisher is an established coach. He's a well-known coach. He's not going to risk his credibility by lying for a player,
right?
So if they ask him, and if Malik Pope's not a hard worker, I don't expect him to say he is, but again, he has time to become that.
Yeah,
and then Coach Fisher can definitely give him that seal of approval, because if one thing we hear Coach Fisher talking to all these different coaches and all these different people he knows through the game, and he's respected. and people will take what he says and they believe it. So he has time, and so I understand Darren's concern, and it's a very legitimate concern. But like I said, he still has time, and I hope that he finishes the season strong because, it could lead to more things moving forward.
Well, one thing that a lot of players, including Malik Pope, have learned playing for Steve Fisher is if you don't give that effort and you don't do what's asked of you on the court, then your ass sits on the bench.
And he learned that.
And I think he's learned that.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And I mean, we've seen it. Like I said, we've seen it. Like, again, when we talked about Coach Fisher saying he has to coach, he shouldn't have to coach effort. I mean, you think back to that. I mean, that is a ridiculous statement. Like, you have no idea how ridiculous that is. I wouldn't expect to coach effort out of, like, 12-year-olds, let alone Division I college athletes.
Right. Yeah,
so it's a crazy statement.
When he said that, man, and after that USD, I was blown away by him yelling, "Play harder, play harder." That kind of broke my heart almost, because Steve Fisher teams are known for just tenacious, outrunning you, beating you into the ground, just making nothing easy on your life. So, moving over to, I wanted to get to this Mark Ziegler stuff. I've always been, I've always been a fan of Mark Ziegler stuff. I like most of it.
I'm still mad at him for calling me for a penalty when I played soccer.
Oh yeah, was he? Yeah, no, and I'm not mad because he called a penalty on me or anything. I just I like his work. I read his stuff all the time. I think he's pretty good. Love listening to him on the radio. With that being said, me and you got into this a little bit. He's calling out the fans a lot recently, this show, and making some assumptions that the fans aren't coming out, they're not supporting, they're picking up their tickets, but they're not arriving at the arena. He's trying to figure it out, I guess. And the student section is not taking too kindly to that. And I can only imagine that student section on Tuesday, I wish I was there, Mikey, looked pretty packed to me. I didn't see many empty seats. So the show showed up in a barge with signs directed at Mark Ziegler, and they put it right back in his face. So what he criticized the show that used to be arrogant, cocky, and very offensive at times, threw it right back in the writer's face in front of him while he was watching the game. What did you think of all that?
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about it. I don't know what's going on with Mark Ziegler, to tell you the truth. We've talked about this stat that I'm surprised he's finally given up on. The Aztecs were up 4 or less or down, in the second half.
Right.
And it got ridiculous when he posted that 17-58 in a game in the second half. It's like, okay, the Aztecs ended up winning by 15 that game. I think it was Utah State.
Right.
And it's like, wow, man, like basketball, we talk about basketball game runs and yeah, he's picking on a show. I don't know what the issue is. Yes, is the show the best student section in the nation? No. It's very apparent. It is still a very good one. Yes. Have you been other places? There's other places where it's not. And I get it. People, it's a lot of fans, really. The show's kind of questioning why aren't fans being called out, because there's a lot of empty seats. You go to games, you see tons of empty seats out throughout the arena.
Right.
You go to the games, you see stupid fans walking when we're shooting free throws towards the end of the game. Even if the game is like a 2-point, possession game, they're still walking behind the basket when we're shooting free throws.
Right.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And so, I was on Facebook and I was listening. I was watching people bash the show, and I'm sitting here thinking, they're not the problem. They're really not. I mean, yes, they're not as great as they were, and they could do more things. But the rest of the arena needs to also. I mean, there's a lot of people that don't get up. I mean, I don't know if I shared my story when I was at Petco. A guy behind me asked me to sit down. And
when he's and you're at a college basketball game.
Event?
Well, especially a college basketball game. That's
a college basketball game at the Petco game against USD. He asked me to sit down, and we're in a game here. I understand you have a seat and stuff, but then don't call out the show which is standing. And yes, there are students that don't stand, and it looks like a great crowd. But I will tell you, when the students were on break, those seats that were people not sitting were filled with regular adults who had bought those tickets that were, in that package.
Right.
Because when I went to the game, and I sit in the show because I prefer to sit there. I prefer the environment. It's more fun, and who cares?
Yeah, I do too. It's great.
yeah. It's when I go, people are standing, and I went to the Fresno State game, and pretty much everybody was standing the whole game, and the Aztecs were up early, and people were still standing. So,
right.
Don't. I think the bigger thing is it seems like he has it out for the show.
Right.
And
I think he's just, you know what I'm thinking? He's been the nice guy for a long time. Maybe he's trying to be the villain. Maybe he's like being a pro wrestler, and he's turning heel now. He's turning heel. He's like, F you guys. I used to like get sandwiches for you guys. Now I'm going to throw them in your face and write about it. Like he seems like he's like, F you. Like that's, I don't know. That's just funny to me. All of a sudden he's kind of turned on everybody, which is fine. He's a writer. People are going to still read his stuff, and they're going to have opinions on it, Quick thing in the chat room. Darren brought up a good. He said, "My stupid basketball IQ," bringing us back to our old conversation. IQ thought Franklin and Heath were going to be NBA players. Good recruiting classes are great, but stars go to the Final Four, and I would agree with that. Our expectations at San Diego State basketball for the last few years has been get over that hump, the Sweet 16. I thought we've had the talent to do it in some cases. Unfortunately, we ran into Duke last year, which didn't bode well for us early on. And we've ran into some really good teams, Arizona, and then Kimball Walker with UConn. I mean, we've really, really ran into some great teams, and that's no excuse. Darren brings up a great point. We're not getting. I think Darren's got a misconception. We're not getting the top 10 basketball players in the nation. We're not that kind of recruiting class. We would like to be. Right. I don't even think we're at Gonzaga's level yet, in my opinion. But I think we're at a very good level of recruiting where we're getting a consistent 4-star athlete and that occasional 5-star who goes, you know what, this is the best spot for me, the best coaching staff for me. I just don't think we've hit that top tier where we're going to pick 3 top, 5-star guys and get them, and the next 2 years where we're going to make a serious run at a Final Four. I don't think we're there yet, and I think our expectations have been very fair to get past the Sweet 16, but I never thought once we would ever go to a Final Four. I thought maybe a couple years ago, maybe, and that was just the homer in me, but I obviously... obviously we weren't that as talented as I thought we were. You know what I'm saying? So and Darren says, then how is a Final Four realistic? I know, we've said that before. I've wanted to go to a Final Four, but I just don't think they're that talented yet. I think the optimism was there because we were coming off such good seasons.
Not that it's impossible.
No, it's not impossible. And you don't know if they could make a run this year and go to the Final Four. We don't know what's going to happen, but I just don't know if they're that level. What do you think, Mikey?
Right. No. Yeah. I mean, we haven't gone on the All-American. Right. Alone. We said we keep track of our 5-star guys, which our 5-star guys are Winston Shepard and
Malik Pope.
So we're a bunch of 4-star guys, and yeah, I mean, you're hoping those guys can step up. I mean, I'm hopeful that we see some stars here, being made out of Kell and Jeremy Hemsley, but that may not be until next year because you have a bunch of guys that just play a certain role.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, obviously, there's teams that can make it there, and obviously there's more parity this year. I mean, you're seeing teams get beat by other teams, blown out by unranked teams. So we saw Duke is not in the top 25 anymore.
Yeah.
Kentucky's, I think, borderline. So I mean, there's a bunch of different things here that are into play. But, at some point, Sweet 16 we have to get past Sweet 16 first and hopefully move on from there. And like you said, we got to get those recruits that come in here and that are big time recruits that want to come in and play and play at San Diego State and take this program to the next level. I mean, those, because we can coach them up. We can coach them up the way we need to.
Yeah.
So I mean, you got to, you have to go ahead and kind of just take that as a growing experience. And yeah, I mean, like you said, it's a homer in us. We want to think that we're good enough to make it to the Final Four. And I always think, why not us?
Yeah,
why not us kind of thing.
Yeah, the gutty little Aztecs. We always say that. That's in my mind too. I think we always want that to happen, and we think because we watch this team on a weekly basis that they can do it. Totally agree. And I was thinking to myself too before we let you go. What a great year to go to the NIT. You could play Duke, Kentucky. You could play, what a great, on your way to your NIT championship, you knocked off Kentucky and Duke. I'd rather go to the NIT this year. What do you think?
No.
You all know.
No. I want that streak, man. That streak of NCAA tournament.
No, I know. I'm just kidding with you, man. But how funny and ironic would that be this year? You got like some of the blue bloods in the nation, warming it up in the NIT. That'd be great.
Right, that would be hilarious.
Right.
Really quick, this Saturday in New Mexico, I have a couple thoughts on that I want to share with you.
Okay,
guys.
yeah, for sure.
Second place, New Mexico comes to town. It's gonna be a hard fought game. New Mexico is shooting crazy. Elijah Brown, Mike Brown's son,
right,
is playing insane. I mean, he's like 91% free throw shooter, ridiculous.
Yeah, he's awesome.
Shooting 3-pointers at a crazy rate. He's the guy to worry about. But we've seen what the Aztecs can do to teams that shoot well. We can make them not shoot well.
Right.
And the big thing, this really big key is the New Mexico has not lost a game this year when they've turned the ball over 15 or more times.
Okay.
So, if they turn the ball over a lot, which they turn it over 15 or more times a lot, that will really, really bode well for us if we can get some transition points. Because, as you know, the offense is stagnant sometimes. So if they turn the ball over, we can turn that into points. Like this game could really play in our favor.
Agreed, Mikey. And I think Aztecs will come out and play their normal style of ferocious D. I think they keep the points down on New Mexico. New Mexico, I watched them again. I watched the whole UNLV game. I'm not ultimately impressed. I think they're okay. I think they're good. They have a couple guys that can really play. A Jet doesn't scare me at all. Their center. I think Skyler and Chol will have their way. He's okay at times, but New Mexico just doesn't have the players to me. Colin Neal has been on a real down streak. It's going to be a formidable matchup. I just don't think we lose at home. But as always, Mikey, can you let everybody know about your website and your new article?
Oh yeah, well. You guys check out all the new articles coming out at AztecHoopsNation.com. AztecHoopsNation.com. I actually talked to Jalen McDaniels this morning.
Nice.
Get an update on how his season has gone. Give you guys a quick couple of things here. His team went 20-0.
Pretty good year.
Pretty good year. They're winning. Their average margin of victory is 24 points. So
that's great.
I think they only won 3 games by single digits all year.
Oh, that's what happens when you play the junior high every week.
Yeah. So no, I mean he's starting tomorrow, and I have a quick little update just on how he's doing his point production and just a couple quotes to remind fans that he'll be starting his run to another state title tomorrow. Awesome,
Mikey. Great work as always. AztecsHoopsNation.com for all your recruiting news. Mikey's there for you. He's got the inside tap, man. I love when Mikey talks. I text him all the time about certain recruits because I don't get into it as much as he has a passion for it, and I just hear about players. So it's good to get the updates from Mikey as much as we can. As always, Mikey, we're gonna get out of here. We loved having you on. Until next week, my friend.
Sounds good, man. And I thought the Carlos Quinton watch, huh?
Oh yeah. The twins, right?
The twins,
yeah, the Twinkies. Well, right on, brother. I'll talk to you soon. All right.
We'll talk soon, guys. Have a good one.
All right, brother.
Mike Maciejewski.
Mike Maciejewski, the Aztecs Hoops Nation Sports Report.
Absolutely. I know we're about ready to wrap this up. I just wanted to bring up a couple Padre things. We talked Padres with Josh at the very beginning. A couple things. I read somewhere that the Orioles might be interested in Andrew Cashner. Quick thought on that. I wouldn't mind if we trade Andrew Cashner, but I want to trade Andrew Cashner for someone who's going to contribute now. You know, I don't want to. I don't want to trade him for what could be a prospect. I'm tired of that bullshit.
Me too.
You know,
me too.
I wouldn't mind them. I know he's a free agent after this season. Somebody's going to pay him stupid money, even if he has an okay season. Somebody, because they're going to see the talent. He's going to. So somebody will pay him more than we will. But I'm willing to take that. I would rather have him for this year than get rid of him for nothing.
First, when I saw that, I said okay, and then I looked up the rankings for farm systems.
Yeah,
Orioles are 31st in the league with farm systems. So I kind of want to stay away from the. If you're going to trade with somebody, like you said, get an almost ready guy.
Yes,
maybe midway through. AAA, he's going to come up and produce somebody that's on a radar somewhere.
Maybe somebody on their team who has the talent but hasn't quite been able to put it together.
Yeah,
and let him try it out here. You know, somebody
I like that
in a similar situation.
Agreed.
And once again, we talk about this every week. Norris, Hedges, Betancourt.
Yeah.
Have your thoughts changed? I'm still thinking Norris is the starter, Betancourt's the backup, and Hedges is either in AAA or gone.
I think that's what we agreed on, and I wouldn't be surprised.
Still?
I don't see why a Hedges trade would not make sense at this point if they can get an everyday stud up here.
Gonna be tough.
Doesn't have to be an all-star, but
gonna be tough to trade him though because he hasn't been able to show that he has a stick yet.
Well, you have to get somebody to buy into the potential. Yeah.
What he's going to have to do is he's going to have to hit 300 in spring training. Honestly.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Yeah, he's got to turn heads. He has to turn heads.
He can't just hit like 240, which for him would be fabulous.
Oh yeah.
But that's not going to be good enough. He's going to have to hit in the
even
threes.
If he hit 285 in spring with some dingers and some pop, I mean. That's what they're looking for.
Yeah.
They're not looking for a 210 hitter.
No, or the 180 that we got last year.
Exactly. So yeah, it's Padre baseball. I'm happy pitchers and catchers are reporting soon.
Yeah.
Just the sound of those gloves and getting all the reports from spring training is a very nice thing.
Yeah.
So
also we're gonna wrap it up. Great talk today. It was nice having Josh back on the show.
Yes.
Jake came in, talked to us a little bit about what the Spanoses are going to be doing. We got from the Spanoses, we got a little bit of a change because now they're talking to the media again.
Yeah, that's good.
And I think the fans are starting to change a little bit. Come back around. We all were hurt. We all were upset. We've moved on. We're ready to go.
But we still
now.
love you.
Yes.
Come back here. Give me a big ol' hug, Dean.
Come back, Dean.
I know. All right, guys.
Man, this is San Diego Sports Junkies Show for the fans.
By the fans.
We'll see you next Wednesday. We're out.
Later, guys.
Trying to grab hold, trying not to watch. I wasted it all on the hands of the clock. But in the end, no matter what I pretend, the journey is more important than the end or the start. And what it meant to be will eventually.
Thank you for listening to the San Diego Sports Junkies, a show for fans by the fans. Brought to you by Cali Comfort, home of the low and slow barbecue, and SK Digital Imaging with Josh Taylor, Justin Smead, Jason Eidsmo, and Mike Maciejewski. Subscribe to us on iHeartRadio, on Spreaker, and on iTunes. Visit SanDiegoSportsJunkies.com for all your Chargers, Padres, and Aztecs news.